In October of 2018, Roy stood where his hardware store in Mexico Beach used to be and could not find a single wall left standing. Hurricane Michael had erased it. Years later, he never reopened. Because some Florida towns rebuild after a hurricane, and some never come back. Today we are looking at 10 Florida places that never fully recovered. Tiny fishing villages most people have never heard of, and names you know, each one still living with a storm that, on paper, ended years ago. We don't sell real estate, and we are not here to scare you off the coast. We just have the damage data, the population numbers, and the insurance pullouts the brochures never mention. And stay to the end, because the number one place on this list was, for one terrible morning, the closest thing this country has seen to a town being erased. In 10th place, at the very edge of the Everglades, where the road runs out and the mangroves take over, Everglades City was never a big place. It was a fishing village, the self-proclaimed stone crab capital, a few hundred people who made their living off the water. Then in September of 2017, Hurricane Irma pushed a wall of storm surge straight up the river and buried the town in mud and salt water. Homes that had stood for generations took on water to the ceilings. The cleanup alone took the better part of a year, and for a town this small with this few resources, the math of rebuilding never quite worked. Roughly 60% of the town's homes were condemned, and under federal flood rules, any house damaged more than halfway had to be torn down or lifted onto stilts before it could come back, an expense many families simply could not cover. Many of those who left to stay with relatives during the storm never moved back, and a year later, dozens of homes were still waiting on grant money just to be elevated. Everglades City is still there, and the stone crab boats still go out. But it is a smaller, quieter, more fragile place than it was the day before Irma. Coming up, a Big Bend fishing town that got hit not once but twice in back-to-back years. In 9th place, tucked along the marshy curve of Florida's Big Bend, Steinhatchee is the kind of town you only find on purpose, a riverfront fishing and scalloping community where the economy rises and falls with the tourist season. Then came 2 seasons no town should have to survive. In August of 2023, Hurricane Idalia came ashore nearby as a major hurricane and flooded the waterfront. The town had barely begun drying out when the following year Hurricane Helene delivered a second blow to the same fragile coastline. For a small seasonal economy, getting hit once is a setback. Getting hit twice before the first repairs are even finished is something else entirely. Helene's surge, estimated at 12 to 16 feet, destroyed an estimated 80% of the buildings in Steinhatchee. Docks that had just been rebuilt were destroyed again. Houses that families had spent their savings putting back together after Idalia were picked up off their foundations and carried into the marsh. Owners who had drained their accounts the first time simply could not do it a second. Some boarded up for good. When a place depends on visitors and the visitors stop coming because there is nothing left to visit, the damage compounds long after the wind is gone. Next, a historic island town where artists and clam farmers are quietly deciding whether to rebuild at all. In 8th place, 3 miles out into the Gulf at the end of a long causeway, Cedar Key is one of the oldest and most beloved small towns on the Florida coast, a place of weathered docks, artist studios, and the heart of Florida's clam farming industry, the tiny island that supplies a huge share of the clams the entire state eats. It is also dangerously exposed, a low island facing open water. When Hurricane Helene's 10-foot surge rolled through in 2024, the third hurricane to batter the island in just over a year, after Idalia and Debbie, it tore into the historic waterfront, gutted businesses that had stood for over a century, and devastated the very clam leases the town's economy is built on. Some farmers lost as much as 85% of their crop in a single storm. The heartbreak in Cedar Key is specific. You cannot simply rebuild a 100-year-old building to the way it was, and you cannot quickly replace an aquaculture operation that takes years to mature. Some longtime owners have looked at the cost, looked at the rising insurance, looked at the forecast for the next storm season, and decided that the honest answer is no. Cedar Key will survive in some form, but the version that made it special is the part that may not come back. Coming up, a town so small and so low that the storm simply went over the top of it. In seventh place, on a narrow spit of land in the Big Bend, Horseshoe Beach is barely a town at all. A few hundred residents in stilt houses, a marina, and not much else between them and the open Gulf. That isolation is the whole appeal, and it is also the whole problem. When the major hurricanes of the last 2 seasons came through this stretch of coast, Horseshoe Beach had nowhere to hide. The surge did not flood the town so much as wash through it, peeling houses off their pilings and destroying an estimated 70% of the town, leaving the kind of clean slate that looks almost peaceful until you realize what used to be there. For a community this small, there is no big tax base to fund recovery, no chain hotels to reopen and bring back jobs, no developer waiting to swoop in. Recovery depends entirely on whether individual families decide to spend the money to rebuild a house that the next storm may take again. Many are still deciding. Some have already quietly sold the empty lot. Next, an inland town that proves you do not have to be on the coast to be destroyed and to be forgotten. In sixth place, more than an hour from the nearest beach, Marianna sits in the rolling hills of the Florida Panhandle, and its story is the one almost nobody tells. When people picture hurricane damage, they picture the coast. But in October of 2018, Hurricane Michael did not weaken into a rainstorm the way inland storms usually do. It came ashore as a Category 5 and drove inland with brutal force, and Marianna and surrounding Jackson County took a direct hit. The damage here was different and, in some ways, harder to recover from. The region's signature tree canopy, millions of pines and ancient oaks, was flattened, and with it a large part of the local timber economy. Downtown buildings were torn open, the hospital was damaged, and because this was an inland farming community without the wealth or the tourist draw of the coast, the recovery money and the national attention drained away quickly. Years later, you can still see it in the cleared lots, in the businesses that never reopened, in the skyline of broken trees. Marianna is a reminder that the storm does not stop at the beach, and neither does the loss. But the next few towns lost something even harder to rebuild than buildings. Coming up, an island artist community that was literally cut off from the mainland, and a place that was rebuilt into something its old residents barely recognize. In fifth place, on the far side of a single bridge in southwest Florida, Pine Island and the tiny artist village of Matlacha took the full fury of Hurricane Ian in September of 2022. When the bridge connecting Pine Island to the mainland was severed by the storm, thousands of residents were stranded, cut off from food, water, and help for days. Matlacha, a one-road fishing and art community, famous for its hand-painted cottages and galleries, was gutted. Here, the recovery itself became a second kind of loss. The old, cheap, weathered cottages that gave the place its soul were exactly the structures the storm destroyed, and the new building codes made expensive to replace. What is rising in their place is bigger, newer, and pricier, and many of the working artists and fishermen who made Matlacha what it was simply cannot afford to come back. The town is being rebuilt, but for the people who loved it, it is not being recovered. It is being replaced. Next, a world-famous nature island that spent weeks completely severed from the rest of Florida. In fourth place, the barrier island of Sanibel has been, for decades, one of Florida's crown jewels, a sanctuary of shell beaches, bike paths, and protected wildlife refuges that drew visitors from around the world. Then Hurricane Ian's storm surge tore through the Sanibel Causeway, the only road on or off the island, breaking it into pieces and leaving the entire community physically cut off from the mainland for 3 weeks, until crews working around the clock could patch a temporary fix back together. Homes that had stood for generations were flooded or destroyed. The beloved beaches were rearranged, and the island's tourism economy, its entire economic engine, simply stopped. Sanibel has the wealth and the will that many places on this list do not, and it is rebuilding. But the islanders will tell you the truth quietly, that the insurance is now punishing, that some longtime residents took the check and left for good, and that the island is doing the slow, expensive, uncertain work of becoming a new version of itself. The Sanibel that existed before Ian is gone, and even a place with every advantage cannot simply buy it back. Because the next town was not destroyed by the hurricane alone. It was changed by the rebuilding that came after. Coming up, a beach town whose entire heart was leveled in a matter of hours. In third place, Fort Myers Beach was the postcard, a lively, slightly weathered stretch of old Florida where the Times Square district buzzed with tourists, the fishing pier stretched into the Gulf, and mom-and-pop motels had served the same families for generations. On September 28, 2022, Hurricane Ian's surge, in places 13 to 15 feet high, walked straight through it. The pier was destroyed. The Times Square district was leveled. Entire blocks of homes and small businesses were reduced to slabs. The human toll here was among the worst of the storm. And in the years since, the rebuilding has told a hard story, because what is going back up on those cleared lots is taller, more expensive, and built for a wealthier visitor. The old, affordable family Fort Myers Beach was destroyed by the water, and it is being priced out of its own recovery. The town will come back. The town that was lost will not. Next, a city of tens of thousands that took a direct Category 5 hit and is still covered in the scars years later. In second place, Panama City is not a small fishing village or a barrier island. It is a real city, home to tens of thousands of people. And that is what makes its story so sobering. When Hurricane Michael made landfall in October of 2018 as a Category 5, one of the strongest storms ever to strike the United States, it did not glance off Panama City. The city took the full force of its western eye wall. Neighborhoods were flattened, the tree canopy was stripped bare, schools and hospitals were damaged, and a significant share of the population, people whose homes and jobs vanished overnight, simply left. In the months after Michael, the city's population fell from more than 35,000 to around 25,000, roughly 8,000 or 9,000 people, more than a quarter of the city, gone. Some have trickled back in the years since, but the city is still smaller than it was the day before the storm. Years later, the recovery is real but uneven. You can drive from a rebuilt, shining new development straight into a neighborhood still dotted with blue tarps, vacant lots, and shuttered businesses. The quieter damage, the strain on mental health, on local government, on families who spent everything they had, lingers in ways no photograph captures. Panama City is a city that survived, but it is a city that is still in very visible ways putting itself back together. Every place on this list suffered, but only one looked like it had been erased. And finally, the number one place on this list, a town that became the single most haunting image of what a hurricane can do. In first place, there is Mexico Beach, and for one morning in October of 2018, this quiet little town became the closest thing modern America has seen to a community being erased. When Hurricane Michael came ashore as a Category 5 with the eye passing almost directly over it, Mexico Beach absorbed the full, unsurvivable force of the storm. Winds near 160 miles an hour and a storm surge over 17 feet. When it was over, roughly 85% of the homes and businesses in town were simply gone. The aerial images that went around the world afterward did not look like storm damage. They looked like the town had simply been removed, foundations swept clean, entire streets where nothing taller than the rubble remained. This was a small town, a few thousand people in season, the kind of unpretentious, affordable beach community that families had been coming to for generations. And that is exactly why its recovery has been so hard. The money, the insurance, the building codes, and the sheer scale of starting over from nothing have meant that the Mexico Beach being rebuilt is smaller, costs more, and belongs to fewer of the people who used to call it home. Some came back and rebuilt out of pure stubbornness and love. Many could not. Years later, the empty lots between the new houses are not construction sites. They are the spaces where a town used to be. Mexico Beach is the #1 place on this list because it is the clearest answer to the question this whole video has been asking. Sometimes a place does not recover from a hurricane. Sometimes it just becomes a different, smaller, sadder place that happens to share the same name. By the time we are done, the pattern is impossible to miss. It is almost never the wind that decides whether a place comes back. It is the math that comes after. The insurance that doubles or disappears. The residents who run out of money or out of will. The rebuilding codes that turn an affordable town into one only the wealthy can afford. The storm is over in a day. The recovery, or the failure to recover, plays out over a decade. None of this is a reason to fear the Florida coast, but it is a reason to go in with your eyes open, to understand that the picture of paradise on the postcard does not show the part that comes after the next storm. If you found this video meaningful, share it with someone who loves the Florida coast and who deserves to see the whole picture, not just the pretty half. Tell us in the comments which of these places you have been to, before or after, and subscribe for the honest version of Florida every single week.